got a podcast show, sipping on a cold one, watch his stories grow. From the city lights to the quiet streets, Tater's talking about life with a beer at his feet. He's got the guests, he's got the spark, interviewing folks who've made their mark. Firefighters, cops, yeah, they're all here, talking about the things that they hold dear. It's Tater and a beer, shooting straight from the hip, talking about the real stuff, no need to skip. With a fireman's heart and a cop's point of view, Tater's breaking it down just for you. Tater and a beer, let the stories roll. Pour another round and let's lose control. They talk about the sirens, the highs and the lows, the calls they answered and the battles they chose. Heroes on the front lines in blue and red. Tater's digging deep, yeah, he's breaking the thread. Every week's a new tale, every guest is unique, sharing their truth. They're all kind of freaks, from the dark nights to the bright sunny days. Tater and a beer always find a way. It's Tater and a beer, shooting straight from the hip, talking about the real stuff, no need to skip. With a fireman's heart and a cop's point of view, Tater's breaking it down just for you. Tater and a beer, let the stories roll. Pour another round and let's lose control. They'll laugh, they'll cry, they'll tell you what's real. Tater's got the mic and he's making the deal. Firemen and cops and the folks in between. Tater's got the podcast that you've never seen. It's Tater and a beer, shooting straight from the hip, talking about the real stuff, no need to skip. With a fireman's heart and a cop's point of view, Tater's breaking it down just for you. Tater and a beer, let the stories roll. Pour another round and let's lose control. So grab a cold one and pull up a chair. Tater's got the guests and he's always fair. Tater and a beer, it's the talk of the town. Come for the stories, stay for the sound. Watch his stories grow. From the city lights to the quiet streets, Tater's talking about life with a beer at his feet. He's got the guests, he's got the spark, interviewing folks who've made their mark. Firefighters, cops, yeah, they're all here, talking about the things that they hold dear. It's Tater and a beer, shooting straight from the hip, talking about the real stuff, no need to skip. With a fireman's heart, talking about the real stuff, no need to skip.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Tater and a Beer.
What? Well, wait. What do you mean, Tater and a beer?
Oh, that's right. We are no longer Tater and a beer. We have rebranded.
Yeah, even though it still says Tater and a beer for the this podcast. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
I think we ought to let him in, let the little cat out of the bag, and let him in on what we're doing here.
Yeah. So we have been. Our name has changed. We are now Salute to Service.
Yep.
Paying tribute to those who serve in any way, shape, form, or fashion.
So basically, if you wear a uniform, we'll get you on here.
Exactly. And I do believe it was for the better. It kind of gives our audience a little more insight into what we do and how we operate. And another thing, if y'all haven't noticed, I have a different co-host tonight. Unfortunately, Boogie was not able to be with us this evening. But on the bright side, I do have Decoy NDA with me tonight, so should be a good one.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Glad you could step in and co-host with me tonight. It's great to have you. Oh wait, nope, there's a wild Boogie.
Yeah, look, you just popped in.
What's going on, buddy?
Not much. I thought I'd join while I can real quick. See if I can.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that.
And
I can't
Wait. What is that in the background? That's not a Holiday Inn on Wheels, is it?
It's my, well, that's my parents. That's mine on wheels.
Oh, okay. That's your Holiday Inn on Wheels. So you're camping. Let's see.
No, he's glamping. He's glamping, Decoy. That's what he's doing. He ain't camping.
Yeah. My wife got off this weekend, so she really wanted to go camping.
Glamping. So, you're right.
Yeah, camping.
Uh-oh. And now we have a wild BB who has joined the party.
I didn't even think either. Oh, man, look at this.
Oh, look at this. Got us on the big screen outside.
Oh, look at that. Wow. Hey, BB, do me a favor. Tell Minnie happy birthday.
He's already asleep.
Already?
Yeah, we just laid him down and he passed out.
You guys tired him out this big day of his birthday.
Man, he's had slip and slides. He's had water slides. He's had it all today.
That's what I'm talking about.
Did he make out like a bandit?
Dude, he had more presents for his birthday than he had for Christmas.
Oh, good gravy.
Oh, and since BB's here, y'all make sure to give a shout out. Wish BB's son a happy birthday since today is his birthday out there in Tubland. Make sure y'all drop a happy birthday in the comments.
Yeah, definitely.
Sorry to rate show. Who's y'all's guest tonight? We're watching y'all. I know Decoy is going live with you and co-hosting for you because Boogie is lamping.
Yeah, well, Boogie's still here with us. Boogie popped in after I told everybody he wasn't able to be with us, and then he decided to show up.
Is Hammy Games your guest tonight?
He was going to, but give him time, and then he never replied back.
I messaged.
Really? Hammy hadn't responded back.
No, I messaged him. I messaged him before we started. So, if he gets the message and drops in, then cool beans. If not, then me and Steve have a few surprises up our sleeve.
Hang on, I got y'all boys.
Oh, he's gonna crack out the old flip phone and text him.
So
Ring-a-ding-ding.
since we
Right.
since we got everybody here, I wanted to bring up a little something that is happening locally. Within about an hour radius of my house, there is actually a wildfire that is going on at the moment that they do not have contained. It started up last night or yesterday and has unfortunately jumped a highway. They're looking, if they can't get it contained, they're looking at about 7,000 acres being burnt before tomorrow morning. So, just keep everybody in that situation. There's multiple different departments from either 3 or 4 different counties involved in that. So just everybody keep them boys in your prayers, and let's hope everybody, not only our firefighters but our other servicemen and women that are involved, let's keep them safe, and also let's hope and pray that the people in that area that are being affected by either the smoke or the fire in general, let's hope and pray that they stay safe and there's no life to persons and or property. I know property can be replaced, but we just hope that everybody stays safe and we don't lose anybody, nor do we lose any property during this wildfire. But yeah, I don't know I haven't heard a cause of what started it, but yeah, I've got a wildfire burning pretty much about an hour from my house this weekend. My father is actually there at it, so hopefully get an update here soon.
Yep.
Yeah, I know it's been really, really dry up here in Maryland too, and we've had like 4 big brush fires in the last week in the county just south of me. Which you can't go any more south in Maryland from me, otherwise you're gonna be hitting water. But yeah, it's been really, really bad down there also.
Yeah, the problem with this one is, of course, they got something like that going on, and the time they start to fight it, what happens? The winds have picked up and aren't really helping it any.
Yeah.
And anybody in the fire service knows, you get a wildfire and you add high winds into it, what happens? It spreads rapidly.
And it don't take much either. One little ember is all it needs to do to jump the road.
Yep.
Yep. So, is there anybody that in the chat that you want to talk about that's happening or happened or going on as far as anything public service is concerned? Because I know we're all in different areas, so.
So, Mr. Tater, what we're talking about the wildfires, maybe we should check out the one link that we always go to that shows us all of our lovely wildfires that are happening right now. So our chat can see that too.
I will pull that up actually and share
Damn,
that with
Boogie,
everybody.
Boogie, I just want to tell you that the camera puts on 10 pounds for you, man. You're getting fat. I told you that on 2 drunks.
Well,
Oh, you mean kind of like every beer puts 10 pounds on you?
even though I almost lost 50 pounds so far this year. So.
I just like to remind Boogie that he's looking a little fat.
Fuck off. You look the same.
That's a being Boogie thing. That's just to stir the pot.
Right?
You do know that, it's all about camera angles too. The lower you hold the camera, the fatter it makes you look fatter.
I give myself a perfect. You see, Boogie, you're showing your belly. You got to hold it up high, not down low.
Oh, like this?
Yeah, your dick may be big, but your belly's bigger. Sorry to put that on Tater's podcast. Tater's about to kick me out of this damn Discord chat.
Nah, I wouldn't do that to you, BB.
I do want to say that y'all are doing great. Salute to Service, even though this is y'all's first episode of Salute to Service, and your co-host couldn't care enough to be here, Tater. Without showing up on his phone, he decided to go glamping, not even camping. He decided to go live in a camper for one night. And couldn't be here.
Who says one night, motherfucker? Who said one night?
But I can
Monday.
tell y'all that looking at analytics, just looking off just on YouTube, you guys all of us are doing great across the board. All of our shows are getting 50 to 60 views per episode. It is looking fucking amazing seeing those episodes grow the way that they're growing.
Yep.
Like, we're all doing something right, and you guys are killing it.
Like I said, BB, there ain't but one way, and that's up. And that goes for not only us, but that goes for everybody, and that seems to be the way it's trending, is up, which is awesome.
We killed the shows that needed to be killed. We replaced the hosts that needed to be replaced. We added the hosts that needed to be put into their shows. And how long do you guys plan on going tonight? Are y'all going? I saw you started at 7, so not 6.
Yeah, we've tried to cover some of your time since you guys are not going to be on with your two drunks.
So that's going to be a surprise. Two Drunks will be live tonight.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Two Drunks will not be live in their normal format. You see BB sitting here in a lawn chair. And Hunter will be sitting in his lawn chair.
So since that announcement got made right here on Salute to Service, I'm gonna plug it. Take the chance to I'm gonna take the chance to plug it, and to anybody watching Salute to Service, be sure you tune in after Salute to Service and give our two drunks some love. Two awesome guys. They run an awesome podcast, and it's for sure to be some fun. It always is when the two drunks are live.
Our two drunks is not going to be its normal content. Trying to figure out how to do it.
Hey, BB, just one thing. Stay away from the fire. You don't want to have a weenie roast.
You actually got to be. You actually got to be able to get. You got to be able to get your weenie to the fire to roast it, Steve.
Oh, that's true.
I take shots at Boogie, and Tater takes shots at me.
And when you're looking straight and looking to the left, it's kind of hard to get your weenie over the fire.
How about you stop calling my weenie a weenie, and it's just a grain of rice. That's how I refer to it. I like fried rice.
So you fry your little weenie.
All the shows are welcome to come on Two Drunks tonight. It's going to be a different show. Hunter's looking at me like we weren't supposed to go live. But we're doing it.
I mean, you posted that earlier today. That you're not going to go
your
live.
message didn't hand me live on air, right?
Oops, my bad. All right, so Boogie wanted me to bring up the.
So I'll just put it this way, Tater. I already summoned Tim, which is why he messaged you back. He'll be here in a few minutes.
Okay.
Awesome.
Okay.
So Boogie wanted me to pull up the National Interagency Fire Center, which shows basically all the wildfires we got going on in the country right now. Shows you how many fires are in each state, the acreage that's been burned, how many new fires have come about, and whether or not they have any of them contained. So Arizona has one at the moment. Total acres burned is 2,138, which is a new fire for Arizona. Fire's called Stronghold. Units, you got Arizona Department of Forestry and Fire Management at 16 miles south. Somebody that can pronounce that, please try.
Gucci.
That's what I was gonna say.
But then again, I'm not right all y'all, so I may get it wrong.
Right. Florida has 2 fires. It says there's 3 new ones, and they've got 4 contained, with total acreage burned of 9,067.
Your live stream can't see it, just so that you know.
I don't know why it
So
keeps
you got to
doing
click
that.
on your live stream. You got to click on your live stream and then bring it up and then scroll.
Can you see it now? No.
Yep. Yeah, they see it.
Okay. Sorry, guys.
Now they
I'm learning, so bear with me.
Now they can't.
What in the world?
Are you sharing your screen or are you sharing the application?
No, I'm sharing the screen.
All right. Well, don't click on the screen. Just scroll.
Okay. So in Florida, you've got Johnson Fire, Everglades National Park, 5,208 acres, 65% contained, 13 miles southwest Florida City. Juniper Swamp, USFS, United States
Forestry Service.
Yep, and that's 9 miles south of Bristol. No, that is not where the racetrack is located.
That's Tennessee.
I guess they've named that one 27. Florida Forestry Service, 500 acres, and it's contained. Bee Island, contained. Curry Island's contained. And MM35 is contained. So Florida seems to have their stuff under wraps. And let's see. So
The one that kind of got me interesting is New Jersey. I didn't think New Jersey would be having such a large fire up there.
alright, let's see. I'm gonna click on it and try to get it to pull right back up so everybody can see it. So New Jersey. Alright, New Jersey has the Johnson's Road fire, which is 15,300 acres, and it is 75% contained, 6 miles southwest of Lacey, New Jersey.
Yeah, Lacey. Wow, and that's okay. Looking at a map, just curiosity, that is almost directly east of Philadelphia, and it is like right on. It's a couple miles away from the Atlantic Ocean. So it's like pretty interesting. It's actually there's a some sort of named park animal refuge in the area. It looks, according to Google Maps, that it's a lot of wooded area.
Well, I mean, they've got it 75% contained, so hopefully they can, within the next day or so, they can get it fully under control and take it off their list.
Yep.
Because from what I'm seeing, New Jersey is a substantial one on the list right now. Which confuses me because with all the wildfires California has, are they not on here because they've got them all contained, or is that something completely different that they don't put on this website?
No, it would be on that website. I would have to call a buddy that's out there, see if what's going on. See, would know.
And just because I live in North Carolina, we're gonna show that one. Of course, you got the Black Swamp fire, 950 acres, 95% contained. And then HAOE lead, which is 3,100 acres, and it's 95%. So they haven't added the new one to this one yet.
No, because if it happened yesterday, it might take some time for them to get it on there.
So hopefully, well, not hopefully, but by the next podcast, that one should be up here. Give us kind of an idea of what it burnt, how much it burnt, and an exact location. Like I said, I know it's Boiling Spring Lakes is, I think, the area it's in. I know it jumped Highway 87 yesterday. So maybe they'll have that one added in so we can kind of get an idea of size and what all it done. Is there any other on here anybody's interested in?
What's any wildfires going on in Mississippi?
Mississippi, according to this low, no, there are not.
We're under burn bans here in most of the state. So I was curious of how that went.
I think most of the states in the country are under some sort of burn ban or burn restriction as of this moment. I know North Carolina is. I know South Carolina is. So I think most of the country is under some sort of either ban or restriction when it comes to burning. So if we look, let's see, where's it at? There we go. If we look at the 10-year average year to date, which is 2015 to 2024, there's been 15,764 fires, and they have burned a total of 939,500 acres in the last 10 years.
Man,
Easy.
that is fucking wild.
If we look at year to date, as far as this goes, according to this, there's been 22,759 wildfires year to date, burning a total of 988,319 acres, which from the looks is on track, unfortunately, to beat last year's year to date. It's already beat total number of fires, but if it keeps going, then it's on track to beat the acreage from last year.
So now is California the state that holds the most acreage burned? Because they're where most wildfires start.
Well, right now I'm on fire.cal.gov, and it says they've had 196,927 total emergency responses, with 949 wildfires, a total of 60,791 acres burned, with 30 fatalities and 16,251 structures destroyed.
And it's just California?
Yeah, this is just California.
Yeah, that's crazy.
The majority over the last 10 years has been California wildfires.
Yeah. They make a lot of news items when the Santa Ana winds really kick in, because they don't. It doesn't only affect wildfires there, but it also affects their power grid. So they have to do rolling blackouts. Like one day, half the north side of San Francisco may lose power for 30 minutes because the heat that's generated from all the power and everything can spark wildfires. So that's why they do the rolling blackouts out there to kind of take the load off the power grid to keep temperatures at bay.
So something else I want to point out, since I was sitting here looking at this. If you look at 2015, look at the jump in acreage between 2015 and 2016. And then it stays somewhat consistent for the next 3 years, and then it drops off for 3 years. And then look at the spike between 2021 and 2022. It goes from 498,000 to 1.1 million acres from 2021 to 2022. And then in 23 it drops back down to 426,000 acres. And then spikes again in 2024 to 1.8 million acres. So you can kind of look at this list and tell out of the last 10 years, 6 of those 10 years the country has been in a substantial drought of some sort.
Not drought, drought.
Yeah, drought. Yeah, some sort. 6 out of the last 10 years, the country has been in some sort of substantial drought, just based off of these numbers and the way I take it.
Well, I mean, we got President Trump now, though, Tater. So he's got the thermostat and everything set to do what it's supposed to do. The president doesn't get to decide it, and Trump already set the thermostat to go back to normal.
Go MAGA.
So we'll have some normalcy coming our way.
Some sort, yeah. Hopefully.
Alright.
You'll get
Yeah.
snow when you're supposed to get it, and it's not going to go to New York in July.
Let's send it on to Florida. Let's just go ahead and freeze out, Disney World.
They already did that. They did it in Florida. They did it in Texas the last 2 years in a row. They haven't ever had snow, hardly. Got massive amounts of snow.
Yep. It's crazy how they got snow this year.
All right, guys, I'm going to go be a viewer. I love this podcast. I love what you guys do. Decoy, you better hope Boogie hops out soon, because apparently he thought that his show was at risk because you were here.
No, what are you talking about? He's the one who told me to get my butt in here.
Another show.
No, he told me to get my butt in here. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I asked him.
Y'all are going to have old Hammy Games in here soon and make for a hell of a time.
Yep.
Y'all better get ready. Go ahead and pucker them buck cheeks.
We are looking forward to it. I can't wait. I'm actually excited about Hammy being on
See
here.
you later, baby.
I'll catch y'all on Two Drunks here shortly. We got to figure out how we're doing it. We still don't know yet. But we have decided we're doing that, so we'll see how it goes.
Alright.
Heck
Take
yeah.
care,
Y'all will
bud.
be watching.
Yep.
Okie dokie.
All right, bud.
So, I want to bring a quick update if everybody remembers the first episode we had of Tater and a Beer with that fire in Arkansas at the Joseph Center. They're hoping to rebuild, but they are partially open for their farmer markets right now that they have been doing. And they had a goal with a GoFundMe of 40,000, and they have reached that goal. So
they are going to rebuild what got destroyed?
the word is they're hoping to, but it's going to be a long process. They're still trying to get people in to see if it's capable. But they are very hopeful because it sounds like a lot of the main structure is still intact. That they should be able to, but they gotta wait and see. But they actually didn't lose a lot of beds or that. Some of it was safe somehow. Their sheets in there were still on the beds and that they found. No water damage, nothing. So that will help their process. But they're really hopeful right now. But they're partially open for their farmers markets and hoping to get their farm stuff going more so they can get a lot of their supplies back up because he lost all the supplies for that part for the farmstead. So, but it's looking for good forwards wise right now as they're not fully opened, but they're looking to get to that point.
All right, guys, are we ready? We got Mr. Hammy Games in the waiting room. I'm gonna pull him up and we're gonna get this party started. Get it started right.
I'm gonna bounce out. You guys have a nice night. Thank you.
You too, bud.
I just want to mention that this is the National Fallen Firefighters Memorial Weekend. It normally runs every year. This year it is May the 3rd to the 4th. And please take time to reflect about all of the firefighters who have lost their lives in the line of duty to protect you and your family's stuff. If you can, try to light your home up tonight in red. Show support and remembrance to our fallen firefighters.
Amen, man.
Amen. I will actually be switching my wedding ring here in a little while to the thin red line instead of the thin blue line. So, we have the one and the only Mr. Hammy Games with us. Hammy, thank you for joining us.
Yep, sorry I'm late. I had a few things come up I had to take care of. Got a little bit of rain going on outside.
It's all good. So, Hammy, you are fire service as far as the fire service, correct?
Yep. From 1997 to like 2006-ish.
Okay. So, what made you want to join the fire service? What sparked that interest of I want to be a firefighter?
It's actually not that good of a story as you would think. It's more of when I was a kid, I was a pretty bad apple. Like I was getting kicked out of school and getting arrested for curfew. Now back then, curfew arrests were like the next thing to grand larceny, right? Like when you were my age, if you were curfew, oh my God, you were a rebel. You didn't come in when the streetlights went on. But so like the cops knew me by name. They're like, oh, that redheaded prick. Like they just knew me. So they wouldn't even like they see Hammy going down the road. We're not even gonna go chase after him. We know what he's doing. We'll just meet him at his house. And then they would, so like I got a bunch of stupid criminal things when I was a kid, like fighting and all that stuff that boys do. And I knew at that point that there was no way that I was ever going to be a cop because, that just wasn't in the cards. But I was one of those that, like my grandparents always taught me that if somebody gives you $1, give somebody $2, right? Just to pay it forward and try to, you're never going to do things completely correct, so try at least. So I figured after all the shit that I gave the county and the city and the people around me, why not do that as a way to give back, right? Never thought, like I was as a kid, you see a fire truck, you're like, oh, mommy, look, fire truck, wee type thing. But never grew up wanting it to be a career or thought about doing it until I was like, I had friends that did it and they were constantly trying to get me to do it. And I'm like, I don't know. And then just one day I was like, well, whatever. I went to a chicken barbecue. It's kind of weird. I went to a chicken barbecue at a fire department, and a buddy of mine was with the fire department, and he said, he talked to one of the people that were there, and he's like, they all came over and were shooting shit with me, and one thing led to another, and I guess I made a decision there, and it was almost a 10-year decision.
Heck yeah. So, being part of the fire service, what was your job in those 10 years? I'm sure you probably had many, ranging from firefighter on. But what was your job in those 10 years in the fire service?
Well, it worked from. It was a get your lump system. Right, you didn't just come in and then they throw you into a bunch of trainings and then you run into a building. That wasn't how we did it. Like, I started probably for the first 6 months to a year. I was the gopher. Somebody needs something, I'll go for it. That's what I would do. On a traffic accident, I was the guy at the end that came through with the broom and cleaned it up and bagged it up and put the kitty litter down, and I was the guy after a fire that spent hours rolling hose because the shit was heavier than it could possibly imagine at my age, and we didn't have hose dollies back then. You just, at best, if you were lucky, you got to use one of those like moving dollies off the back of a U-Haul, but those things weren't really good either. You try to pick up a round hose on a square peg, it doesn't go too good. And then work your way up. We would do like recurrent trainings in the city, so they would take us to like a vacant lot, and they would throw cars. They would tip cars over, or they would set a car on fire in a vacant lot, and you would sit there with the trash line and pretty much do all that stuff until they were comfortable saying, okay, we're going to put you in a controlled burn on a reoccurrent training, which we had this big, I called it the shit house, because it's what it looked like. It was like an oversized shit house. It was just a big concrete cinder block building that they would pack full of hay and just light that sucker on fire, and then you would have to go in, and they would throw like a dummy in one of the corners that there was no fire in, and you wouldn't tell you where. Your job was to find it. Once they got comfortable with how you would handle it, then they would start putting you in trainings and stuff, right? And you would work your way up from, okay, now if you're going to an actual call, if it's something small, you might get I don't know what they call it now, the politically correct term, but it was called an Indian can then. It was just like a backpack that you wore that you could take off and pump and then spray it, and the sprayer was almost like one of those weed sprayers. It was a chintzy piece of junk, but we'd go do that, or just stupid stuff until you could work your way up to getting the certificates on your card to be allowed to do it. But just because you get interior attack doesn't mean you're going in the fire. It just means you can.
Okay, so y'all done it. Y'all do it or do it basically the same way. I know we here in North Carolina do it. You've got like firefighter 1, firefighter 2. You've got different certifications you've got to get that allow you to do different things within the fire service. I know with firefighter 1 and 2, that gives you the ability to go into a burning structure. Now, whether or not the department you're with allows you to is a different story, but it does give you the ability to do so.
Right. Yeah, those are nationally recognized certificates. So, like, if you have firefighter 1 and you go to any state in the United States and you present that means you went through the training to do it. That doesn't mean that department's going to say, oh, well, you have it, now you know what you're doing, because every place is different, right? You got cities that have big skyscrapers. Well, they have like high-rise packs and stuff that you got to learn the layout of those buildings before you're allowed to go in them. Where if you're in a residential area, a lot of residential houses are built fairly the same, right? They might look different, but structurally they're the same material. So you know what to look for, and yeah, you're right. It's kind of one of those things where just because you have it don't mean it means anything. Like a college degree anymore. It's because you have one doesn't mean it really means anything.
I mean, you could have a college degree these days and be working at McDonald's, so it is what it is.
Yep.
Steve, do you have a question, sir?
Well, so I watch a lot of YouTube videos on different fire departments from like LA, New York, and everything. And every once in a while, I'm stupid enough to read the comments. And one of the big ones is, why does the firefighters look like they're always standing around doing nothing when they first arrive to a fire scene?
Oh, that's a scene command thing, right? So I can only speak for my personal. I can't obviously speak for any other fire department across the country or the world. But so like we would get our pager would tone out. We would go to the station, get on the truck. We would head there. On the way there, we're trying to listen to the radio while still getting dressed on the truck, right? So you got a whole bunch of eggs in one basket, and you're not trying to break any of them. And then when you show up, your truck is assigned to a chief on scene. So they're sectors. They break them down, usually based off the ABCD, of the house, the sides of the house. And it'll be broke down into sectors. Okay, we need, truck 57 over on the Delta side, and you're going to see Chief blah, whatever chief that is. And then from there, you get your instructions from that chief. Well, your captain of the driver of the truck will get the instructions from the chief, who has to relay it down to the crew of the truck. So there's no quick process. So yeah, I mean, it does. There's times we show up on scene and you're looking at a house burning or a car just in the road smoking, but you don't want to send everybody running in, because that's where something bad can happen. If somebody if you get too many people running towards one thing and nobody knows what's going on, something bad it's bound to happen.
Yeah, because like up here, single call, if it's a working house fire or whatever, there may be like 5 or 6 chiefs en route to it, but only one will take command once they get there. The other ones will be like division leaders and everything else once they figure out what's kind of going on and everything. But it just it's kind of strange, because like I said, I watch a lot of this. A lot from New York City, and believe it or not, most of them are high rises and everything else. And on those, they take more of a outside defensive attack instead of rushing right into the buildings, which I totally understand. Being high rises, you don't want to just run up, because they've kind of learned. But it's like September the 11th. It's like not the best thing to always do in a building fire.
Well, I like to equate like what you said about why people show up. The easiest way to explain it is you work for a company, right? Just imagine you work for a company, and the owner of that company, we'll call him the chief. They have a meeting with all of the managers. We'll call them the truck drivers, and they tell the truck drivers, "Hey, we need all the employees to start doing this, this, and this." Well, by the time them truck drivers or managers get to you, it might be the next day in real life, right? Like the meetings don't happen and bam, bam, bam.
Right.
So that's the trickle effect. They get the information. Like once you show up on scene, the truck driver will tune his radio into a certain frequency. You're not on that frequency. You don't have, you're not listening to that. So by the time that chief tells that truck driver and that truck driver tells the crew, there's a gap. There's a relay or a break in the relay, but it's a necessary one for everybody's safety. And then there's also that stop loss, right? Where if there's a bunch of buildings around, not everybody's thinking about the one that's burning. They're thinking about the ones that might catch on fire. How do we protect these buildings? Do we start pre-soaking them? What's the goal here? Do we evacuate these buildings? There's so much dependent on the wind. So people look at it and go, "Oh, firefighters get paid all this money." Well, a lot of people do it for free. But either way, there's the people that are in the building, and this is an unfortunate situation. But if you show up to a fully involved structure fire, if the person's dead or alive before you walk in the door, just based off of the conditions of the fire. And as morbid as it sounds, I'm not going to run in to save a dead person. Doesn't make sense. I wouldn't want somebody to do that for me, because something bad could happen to them, and then now there's 2 people dead. I would rather, the way the system works, and thank God they haven't changed it to the best of my knowledge, where it's safety first. And you guys will hear me joke sometimes where I say safety third, because there are times where you just go run like a nut to get things done as quick as you can, and then you deal with whatever happens afterwards.
That's why they say firefighters are a special kind, because they're running into a building when everybody else is running out of it.
Yep, I realized something was up when my nephew, when he was like 5 or 6 years old, looked at me and said, "Uncle," and he used my name, and said, "Why do you run to your death?" And I thought, first off, how in the hell are you that old knowing that kind of stuff? Who taught you that? Who told you that? Because to him, a fire truck was a parade vehicle, right? Like we're going to parade, see fire truck. They didn't know. He wasn't supposed to know what the hell a fire truck was for.
Kids are a lot smarter than we give them credit for.
Yeah,
Yes,
shocking
they
as
are.
that'd be.
So, what in your time as a firefighter, Hammy? What would you say was your most memorable structure fire? And let me say there is a story that Hammy has, but we're going to save that for towards the end of the podcast. I think everybody will get a kick out of that because it's not one you're going to hear from just about anybody else. But besides that, what would you say your most memorable structure fire was in your time as a firefighter?
Probably. Well, okay, it's one that everybody panicked on. We had they call it a high rise, but it's not. It's like I don't know what you classify a high rise, but it's like a 30-story building where they keep like a lot of the elderly and disabled. They live there, right? That's just like what it is. And we used to always use those. There's 2 of them, and we used to always use those as like training we would do during fire prevention week. They would just randomly tone out the trucks, and you would just respond there, and then there'd be training, right? You'd show up, the chiefs would put garbage bags over your head and tell you to crawl forward. They would randomly grab you, and then you would have to figure out how to get out of it, and the easiest way is crawl backwards the same way you crawled in. But we went to one of these buildings where it was reported smoke in an apartment. Well, they gave the wrong apartment number, so we were like 5 stories or something above where they said it was. We couldn't find nothing, so we relayed back that there was nothing, no sight, no smell, nothing. There was no detectors going off. So we relayed it back, and the chiefs put any responding units to slow their rate, or they put them back in service. So there was only like 3 trucks here for this big ass building. There was nothing. We didn't see nothing. And then all of a sudden, out of one of the buildings, we heard over the radio that there was a blowout on a window. Well, we didn't hear nothing because sound goes down more than it goes up, right? That's the whole sonic boom theory. The faster you go down, you'll hear the noise. So we didn't know. And then they started saying that they had flames on the exterior of the building. Here it was 5 floors below us. We had no idea. We didn't know how to get down to it. We had already brought all the gear up the steps to turn back around and take it down to take slack out to charge a line, right? Because we brought the lines up thinking we were going to charge them up there. And no, now we have 150 feet of extra hose that we don't need. And then the chiefs had to recall the trucks back in, and it was just a shit show. And it turned out to be, it was 2 apartments were on fire at the same time. How we made it past was because we didn't go into the hallways. We just kept going right up the staircase. And if we would have went like we were supposed to and checked floor by floor, but we just went off of what we were told. So that was a memorable one. But the most memorable one is one that we went to the day before. It was the whole house was a complete loss. And the next day, the chief got a hold of us, or got a hold of our captain, to take a truck over because the fire marshal was going over to check the house. And if you know anything about a fire marshal, they don't go in. They wear a helmet, but that's about it. So we went in with the fire marshal. We had to go in with them to make sure there was no hot spots and nothing that was going to cause any damage to him, or the building wasn't going to collapse or whatever. So we went through this whole building, and he took pictures, took notes. We came out, we were standing under the awning, and this is actually what led to me leaving the fire department. We were standing under the awning of the porch, and that's when the front porch collapsed. It wasn't a heavy like structure by any means, but it was made out of like 2x8s or whatever, so it fell like, I don't know, 3 or 4 feet down to hit me right across the shoulder blades is where the beam of it hit me, and it sent me flying out in the front. You know, everybody panicked. Are you okay? You okay? I jumped up. Adrenaline was running. I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. Until I wasn't. You know, and like a couple hours later, I was sitting in the emergency room, could barely move my neck. Like the kink in your neck when you wake up in the morning and you're like, oh shit. No, it was like that times 10. And they were giving me shots and x-rays and all this stuff. And being a guy, I just ignored it, right? Like, okay, well, I got medication. I take this pill. It makes me feel good. Pager goes off. I go running. And I made it worse over a couple months. But yeah, that was the most memorable one that isn't related to what you just brought up.
Heck yeah. So you kind of answered my next question a little bit with the roof falling on you. But have you ever, other than that, have you ever been hurt or trapped when it comes to firefighting, whether it be in a building, outside, other than that, the roof falling on your head?
I ended up with, well, I mean, yeah, I got a bunch of little, you know, hazard deals, like getting cut by metal or pinching your hand when you go to couple 2 hoses together in a hurry and you snap them in and you end up with a big black knot on your finger because you got whatever they call them, the blood blisters or whatever they call them.
The fun things, yes.
Yep.
Yeah, and then you got to pop them suckers and they bleed like a stuffed pig for like 10 seconds and then you're fine. The one that sticks out that I know, because I ended up with stitches in my hand, we were looking for a little mentally disabled boy that walked away from his house, and he lived out in this, like a stretch of road that was woods and house and woods and house, and then there's like a junkyard, and that's his favorite place was the junkyard. So that's where they sent us first. And we broke up into like teams of 4 or 5, and we're walking through yelling out the kids' names, saying everything's okay, you're not in no trouble. And we're trying to open up trunks, like any kind of trunk that is not shut, but shut, that you can see will open if you pull on it. And I ripped up on this trunk, and when I did, the metal liner of it came down like a guillotine on top of my hand. And it just whacked and then went away. I didn't know I was bleeding because I was wearing gloves. It wasn't until I got back and we started getting, taking our gear off when we were back in the junkyard's garage where they would work on cars. That's where we staged at. And I took off my gloves and my whole top of my hand was covered in blood. And I'm like, what the hell? And then we seen it. I guided it up. I put duct tape and or paper towels and duct tape. Well, we had medics there just in case we did find the kid. And more happy ending to that story, the kid was found underneath his front porch of his house. Like they had that latticing. He went under there and hid. I guess there was an argument with his parents or something, and he got scared and ran.
So, you're out of the fire service now, correct?
Right.
Have you ever thought about going back, whether it be paid or volunteer? Have you ever thought about rejoining a department and taking a second whack at it?
I can't. I was medically disqualified from it because of the roof. So it's weird, right? I can't do that because in order to be a firefighter, you get insurance, and if it's not a paid department, then the city covers your insurance. So if anything happens to you, if you die or whatever, any injuries is covered by the city. And because that's on my record, the only thing that I was eligible to do is what we call the fire police, which is basically a glorified traffic control. And I'm like, well, I'm not gonna do that. Like, stand there with a yellow vest on, look like a construction worker, telling people to go a different direction. You don't. It's like, to me, I think of it like, how can an ex-football player go from playing on the field to doing commentary, just sitting there watching? Right? I wouldn't be able to do it, and I know that I wouldn't be able to do it. So I was like, no, there's no point in me switching to do that because I'm going to instinctively want to do something else.
So, with being a firefighter, as you've mentioned in the past, previously, there are certain things you have to get in order to be eligible to do certain things within the fire service. Where did you go to school, or did you go to school for the fire service, or did you just get those certifications being in the fire department?
So yeah, that's a good question. Is no, I didn't go to school prior to it. Like I said, I was at that chicken barbecue, and within a week of that, I had filled out the application. I got voted on. I got accepted, and I started. Right. So we would go to this place called the Frackville Fire School Grounds. It was like an hour and a half drive or so, or 45 minutes. I'm not even sure how far it was from where we were. But we would go there, once a month, once every other month or something like that, depending on whatever classes they were offering and how many people needed that class. We didn't do it as a department. We did it as companies within the department. And then there's times that they would come to us. So, like, I was ALS and BLS certified at the end, but in order for me to get that, we had to go to a hospital and do training at a hospital.
And just for those of you watching that aren't sure what he's talking about, BLS stands for Basic Life Support, ALS stands for Advanced Life Support, just in case anybody doesn't understand the abbreviations.
Oh yeah, I probably should have thought that through. But like, and it really it determined what you were doing, right? Because there were certain things, like we had a major highway that went past us, so we would have to go. I never got it, just because I can count on one hand in almost 10 years how many times we went to an accident on that highway that involved like chemicals and stuff. So I never got the certification for hazardous material. It just didn't. There was fire departments closer to there that they were required to get it. We were in out of town at that point. So if we were the second due, or if there was an all call, we were on the board. But I never went and did it. We had tractor trailers and stuff go through the city, but again, none of them really carried hazardous material in the form of like oils and gases, unless they were going to a gas station to drop off stuff. But then at that point, if something happens, our job was to sock it and call somebody else in. We would just take the big sock, wrap her up, and call somebody else in because we weren't equipped. Start throwing kitty litter down to contain it. That's about as far as my training with that went.
And that shows the difference in training between not only various departments but also various states. When I went through a firefighter academy at a college, and in that academy we had to take, in order to continue, we had to take and graduate, we had to take and pass level 1 hazmat. It was part of our curriculum, something we had to take and pass in order to graduate. Did I ever use it? No. Never used my hazmat level 1 at all. Never been part of a hazmat call. But it was something we were required to have in order to graduate the academy.
Yeah, no, they never. The only thing we were required to have, obviously, is the basics, right? Like firefighter 1, firefighter 2. You're not allowed to do anything without them. That's it. If you don't have them and you show up to a scene, like I said when I first got here, is I was the gopher. I was the guy that I wore a jacket and the helmet, and I didn't have no bunker gear. I didn't have no bottoms. I was just in a jacket and a helmet. And my helmet was a different color than everybody else's because that's how you can tell what people are trained in. And I was just the go get it guy because I wasn't allowed to do it for insurance reasons. Like I knew how to do it, but I wasn't allowed to do it for insurance reasons.
So you mentioned earlier the different companies. When you were in the fire service, were you part of an engine company? Were you part of a ladder company? Or did you switch between the different companies in your time?
Well, we were a multi-core company. We had an engine, a tanker, a squad, and a boat unit. So we were everything, and we built our own mobile. Like when I say we built our own, we built a mobile command unit out of an old garbage truck of all things. That we took the frame of a garbage truck and built a box on the back and made it a command unit that could be used for the city. It was under our call sign, but that would get called out when none of our other apparatus got called out. Right, like that would get called out for search and rescues in remote areas, and because back then there was no, the internet wasn't as big as it is now, right? Like we had a boom that would come up from it, that was essentially a communication center that would come out of the top, that would give what we would call Wi-Fi now. It would give that then, like it would allow for our radios, the radio communications, to be bigger in that search area or that area of operation.
So
we lost decoy.
Yeah, we did, didn't we? So you were pretty much whatever was needed at that moment. You weren't assigned to a particular company. You were just whatever was needed when it was needed.
Right. So like there was times when if they would call us out, they might call our engine and tanker. And those two would show up, and one would piggyback off another. One would be on the hydrant, like the tanker would be on the hydrant, resupplying while the tanker was supplying the engine, and we just kept it going. Like there was, the only thing that made our tanker any better than anybody else's tanker in the city is it had a mobile cascade system on it. So we could in theory refill bottles on the spot. Like it had an explosion tank and everything that we just dropped. I think it was 3 tanks could go down at once. You hook them up, drop them down, close the shield, turn them on, and if something bad happened, it was supposed to be contained. But to me, it was just diamond plating. That's all I really seen. So I don't know how contained it would have been, but still, yeah, that's the only thing that we had. Like there was cascade systems all over the city in different departments, but we're the only one that had a mobile cascade on ours.
So y'all's cascade system was actually built into your tanker. It wasn't a trailer that was pulled by. Because I know a lot of places around here have the mobile cascade systems, but a lot of them are trailers. They're not one that's built into the truck itself.
Yeah, this was built into the rear. It would be the rear passenger side of the truck. It was just I don't know, maybe like 4 foot, 3 foot wide, and it was a door that, like a traditional door back then, with the handle. You had to grab the handle, turn the handle halfway, and then bring it down, and then the bottles would go in on slats on an angle. You'd put them in, grab the hoses, hook them up, shut the lid, flip the switch, and let the compressor kick on, and it would do its thing. And it was louder than I've heard tractor trailer Jake brakes quieter than that thing running. You knew when that was going.
Yeah, some of them can be quite loud. So I've heard you talk about y'all had high rises in your district. Ladder truck wise, did y'all use what we would call a stick, which means it's just a ladder, there's no bucket or nothing at the end? Or did y'all use what I consider an aerial, which has the bucket at the end that people can get into? Or was that something y'all had to call for outside of your department?
So we had one aerial in the city. That was it. And that was first due on on the high rise. Anytime there was a call for the high rise, that was first due. And it was the traditional aerial, with the bucket, goes up. It can go in a complete circle. It has the hose at the top. The whole deal. I never got in it. I wanted to so bad, but there was never an opportunity for me to get in and go up there and see what it was about. I was in it while it was down. I never got in it while it was fully extended.
What was the maximum height of that particular
Oh.
aerial, if you can recall or no?
I think, I mean, I don't know in terms of like feet wise. I couldn't tell you, but I think the most I ever seen it out was probably like 15 stories or 10 stories or something. It wasn't a massive unit at all, but it would, with what it could go up, the distance that it could shoot covered more of that ground. It wasn't, like I said, we didn't have no big buildings, right? Like 30 stories, 40 stories or whatever was the biggest building we had. So there was no need for them to have anything bigger than that. Now we had a stick. There was a stick also with that same company that would help get people onto residential roofs faster. You know, the old traditional grab and go with the ladder. We used that when we had to, but most of the time they would just they would bring that in, drop it, and everybody would just run up and go. But depending on the attack style, right? If we were offensive or defensive, it all depended how we would do it or what we would bring in.
It's fun because I'm enjoying this. I'm getting to ask questions that I haven't been able to ask any of our other guests, and I'm able to ask them in a way that I'm sure a lot of people on YouTube and a lot of people listening aren't understanding. And I'm sorry, guys, in advance. If anybody has, any questions, bad host, I don't have the comments pulled up. So, but if anybody has any questions about what we're talking about or the terminology that I'm using or Hammy's using, please feel free to ask. But I'm enjoying this because I'm getting to ask questions that I haven't been able to ask to anybody else. And it's fun because I'm getting to hear it from somebody that fights different types or has fought different types of fires. Me with the fire department, we didn't have the 20, 30 story buildings. The biggest thing I've ever went to is a beach house, a 3-story beach house. So it's different for me, and getting to hear it from somebody who has been on the big city side of it. It's fun. So you said y'all had a traditional style aerial. 100-foot max would be a safe bet as far as to what it would reach.
Yeah, I would probably just, if I were to put a number, let's just go with 100 foot. I mean, like I said, I've never, it wasn't part of my company, so I didn't know the specifics, the ins and outs of it. Like, I knew where some stuff was on it because, on all trucks, certain things are in certain spots. That way everybody knows where to go. But then there's other things like toolboxes that are all over the place. So I never got close enough to the truck for a long enough period to ever really pay attention. And I know it probably said it right on the boom itself. It probably said what it was and just never paid attention to it.
So was it mid-mount or was it a rear mount aerial?
It was a rear mount.
Rear mount? Okay, yeah. I prefer rear mounts. I hate a mid-mount. I had to climb mid-mount in the fire academy, and I'd much rather climb a rear mount.
Oh, the rear mount has a ladder that leads right up to it. You just climb right up the back ladder, and then you're on basically a little platform that you just take one step and you're in the little swivel, and then from there you're up the ladder.
Yep. And in our fire academy, when we had to climb the aerial, it wasn't a requirement, but it made you look good if you did it. I didn't do it because I don't like heights. But you get to the top, you clip in, and then you basically become an angel. You lean back, you throw your arms out to the side, and you let your equipment hold you to the aerial itself, which was fun to watch. The white boy wasn't doing it, scared of heights. 100 foot up in the air, I'm not letting go of nothing.
Well, I'm scared of heights too, and this is the odd part about being a firefighter and being scared of heights, right? Like, those two things normally just don't go together. It's like being a pilot and being afraid of heights. You don't really expect that to be something that happens. but it's kind of in the heat of the moment thing, right? Like, if I'm climbing a ladder to go up on my roof, I'm like, oh no, gotta make. I'm 3 points of contact the whole way up. But if you tell me there's somebody up top there that if I don't get up there, they might die, I'm running up that ladder like my hair is on fire. I'm gone, and then I'll deal with how the hell do I get back down once I'm up there. It's, but like, I would have loved, in theory. Now, if you say, hey, let's go get on in this bucket and we're gonna put you up in the air just for fun, I might say, no, let's don't do any of that. That doesn't seem like a good idea right now. Why waste perfectly good hydraulic fluid? Let's just save that for where we need it. But in a situation where, you know, to be able to use it, again, that's a training thing too, which I didn't have. I didn't have training to go up and operate it or none of that. So it's all wishful thinking.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Get me on a ladder and I like freaking, you know, put death grips on that ladder. But you know, I don't know why. It's like, to me, I guess it's just a criminal fear of, you know, falling. It's always in the back of my mind. It's like, I mean, I don't mind, you know, being in a high-rise building. I mean, I can be in a 16-story building on the top floor looking out, not a problem. But you show me one YouTube video of somebody that's changing a light bulb on an antenna tower, and I get sicker than a dog.
Yeah, pucker butt syndrome. I'm sitting there going, oh geez. You know it ends good because it's on the internet, right? But I'm the same way. You're like, ooh, buddy, that's not good.
I mean, I'm shaking and quivering in my boots just climbing an extension ladder to get on the roof of my house. But then again, you put me in a Black Hawk with a harness on that's anchored to a little D-ring in the floor, and I'm all but hanging out the door by that harness. It doesn't bother me.
That's the thing, right? Like, if that harness does you no good if that helicopter crashes, right? So it's like, it's mind over matter, but sometimes my mind is all that matters, and I think that, you know, that ground, it's not the fall that kills you, it's the stop at the bottom that is what hurts. And I don't want that. Like, even in video games, when I jump off a high spot, or I'm you know, in GTA, whenever I'd skydive and I'd free fall for a little bit, I would get that roller coaster feeling in the stomach, like, ooh, the pit of the stomach. You know it's fake, it can't nothing hurt you here, but I would still get that in my brain that would make my stomach go, oh.
Yeah, I think a lot of mine actually comes back to when I was a kid, about the age of, you know, 7 or 8. I fell through a cellar door, and I went a full 1.5 flights straight down.
Yeesh, that would be no good.
Yeah.
Like, when I was a kid, I was an idiot. Like, I would do the stupidest things. Just like, I would monkey up trees and start like grabbing them and trying to hug them and try to get up to branches. I don't know when the fear of heights kicked in, but I can remember a time where I was climbing to the top of trees with the thinnest branches and didn't care. Like, I didn't, maybe I just didn't realize what could happen, or I didn't care what could happen. But the older you get, it's like, I feel like as I started getting a little bit older, I realized, hey, you know, that shit hurts when you fall. Maybe let's don't do that.
And the older you get, the longer it takes you to recover from said fall.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
So
the bones ain't what they used to be.
By no stretch.
I can get out of bed just right, and it takes me a week to recover. So I know about all that.
I can't tent camp no more, because going tent camping, it takes me 2 weeks to get over it after coming back from tent camping. So
Ground ain't as soft as it used to be either.
No, it is not. So I'm gonna ask this question, and we're gonna let our guest go last on this question. But the last question is, where were you on 9/11? And Steve, I'm gonna let you start. Where were you on 9/11?
I was actually still in Oklahoma at that time, and I was working on a house, painting a sunroom, So my mom's bedroom had a sunroom attached to the back, and we kind of used that like a guest room. And I literally took the week off to do house modifications, and I was painting it, and a friend of mine called me up and says, "Turn on the TV." I said, "What's up?" He goes, "Turn on the TV." So I turned on the TV, and it was just right after the first plane hit the first tower, and we watched in shock and awe as the second plane came in. Then the report in Pennsylvania, the failed attack, and then the attack on the Pentagon. That was one of the key features that drove me to move out here to Maryland, is to go work for DOD and military health and all that good stuff.
And I don't know if y'all go back and watch the episode when Steve was, or Decoy, sorry, was a guest on our show. Hammy, I promise I won't do it to you. Steve is prior LEO. So shout out to Steve for his service as prior LEO. But yeah, Steve is prior law enforcement. So his background in that, and being in Maryland, that had to be somewhat of a challenge.
Yeah, it's a culture shock, that's for damn sure. You know, you go from a map dot to a woo. It's like, you know, it's kind of a wake-up call.
So and I'm going to tell my age here, I was actually in middle school or junior high, whichever you want to call it, and we had just come back from the gym, and every teacher in the building had their TVs on to, I do believe it was CNN, and it was right after, I want to say it was the first or second plane had hit the World Trade Centers. And when we got back from gym, it was basically sit down, shut up, don't say nothing, watch TV. And then when I got home, that's when I realized, you know, got more in depth and realized what was going on as far as all that. And it was actually one of the key factors as to why I joined the military. I left high school in 10th grade, got my GED, and joined the military about a year later, to try and help combat and take down those jackwads that were responsible for that. So yeah, I was in junior high when that happened. So Hammy, we are now going to lead to you, sir. And this is a story that I've been waiting to put on Salute to Service. It's one that I know shushed him a few times to keep him from telling it on other podcasts or going too in depth on it, because I wanted it to be a Salute to Service exclusive. But Mr. Hammy, where were you on 9/11?
Moving out of my mom's house. As dumb as that story starts off as, is I was me and a buddy of mine, I borrowed my mom's neighbor's pickup truck to move my stuff out of my mom's house. And I had a friend of mine who has now since passed away, helping me carry an entertainment center down the steps. And I was going down first because I said, if anything happens to this entertainment center, I want it to land on me. Right? So I was going down the steps first. And the way our steps were designed, it was like a sideways V. So like you could start halfway down the steps and you wouldn't see nothing but wall, but as soon as you started getting further down, you could look over and see into the living room. Well, I'm coming down the steps and trying to look to my right or to my left and look like at the steps that I'm taking next. And I seen my mom was watching TV, and I seen what was on the TV, and I asked her, "What movie are you watching?" And because my mom never watched movies. She would always watch like soap operas and game shows and shit. That was what she did. So I was shocked that she was watching something other than that. And I'm like, "What movie are you watching?" And she said, "I'm not watching a movie. I'm watching the damn news." And a little side note to this is, if my mom's watching TV, shut up, leave her alone, because she will. If she misses a single thing of what she's watching, she'll be pissed. And that was back in the tape days, right? So like, she would record Days of Our Lives and all this on VHS, and then she would go back and watch them later on, just to see if she missed anything when she went to the bathroom or whatever, because there was no skip to a certain spot. So we get to the bottom of the steps, and that's where the front door is. Well, the front door's shut because I have to be able to get the entertainment center around. And as soon as I swing around and set my end down, and my buddy comes around and sets his end down, on my right hip is where I had, this is going to date me, the minute or two. I don't know what they're up to now, but it was a minute or two. It was a fire pager. And that thing started going ballistic. Just started making all kinds of racket. Noises I never heard off the damn thing. First, it started off with the normal tones, and then it went to the dispatch tones, so the rapid beeping sound. If anybody, I'm not even going to try to pretend that I'm going to make that sound, but the rapid beeping sound when your company is due. And now I'm blocked by a entertainment center and then the door. So I threw the entertainment center like off to the side, hopped in my vehicle. My buddy's standing there like, "What are you doing?" Because at this point I didn't know what I was doing, because it was still going through all the tones. In the back of my head, I knew what my mom was watching, but never dawned on me that could have an impact on me in any way. So I put the vehicle in reverse, back out of the parking stall, flip the switch, my blue light goes on, and I start driving. I have about a 3-minute drive from my house at that point, or my mom's house, to the fire department. I get there normally. Now, I had my EVOC, or Emergency Vehicle Operations course, for anybody listening. So that means I was allowed to drive fire truck. Many a times I would be the first one there because I lived so close. Our captain, now at this point I was a lieutenant. I wasn't a lieutenant at this point. No. The captain lived 2 blocks down, but he worked so many weird hours that you never knew if he was going to be there or not. Many a times I would get there, get the truck, pull it out. I don't know if it's still the same way for any departments now, but whoever pulls the truck out drives the truck. That was the rule. That was the policy we had, that you pull the truck out into the driveway, get the lights on, and let everybody get their gear, hop on, and then you radio and you're on your way. Well, I came around the corner into the alleyway, and I seen the truck already sitting in the driveway. I'm like, holy shit. And then within 2 minutes of that, it was just, and now mind you, this is daytime, right? But I could still see the blue lights from all over the place. They were just coming in. I wasn't listening to my radio. I get in, get my stuff, hop on the back. Now, to date this was like a 1970 something Mac, so it had jump seats in the back. It didn't have an enclosed cab. It had a dog house in the middle, or for those that don't know, that's where the engine's at, and that's in the wintertime is your best friend. So we got on this truck and we're going, and I'm sitting in the jump seat. All I have is this bar with padding on it, separating me from the road. And there's a speaker under the little enclosed part of the cab that started spitting out what was happening. And we were dispatched as, like, I guess mutual aid, but not really, since we had like an hour and 45-minute, 2-hour drive to even get there. But they pretty much called in any available unit on the East Coast, because you just didn't know what was going to happen. If that building fell over and started all these other buildings, New York would have been gone. And at this point, didn't know that there was a second plane that hit. So we're hauling ass. And this vehicle does not go fast. Like 70 miles an hour if you're lucky with a full tank. And we didn't have baffles in our tank. So any sharp turn could cause it to, go sideways. And we're just cruising up the road. And the siren on and those Macs sounded exactly like you would think they did, right? They sounded old and like they had pneumonia. They were in bad shape. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, our siren cuts off and our lights cut off. And everybody's looking around because, again, there's 4 of us in the back. There's 2 up front, 4 in the back. We did have the hang poles in the back, but the city outlawed them, or the state did, or whatever, where you weren't allowed to hang off the back of the truck no more. That was dead and gone before I even joined anyway. So we're asking, like, what the hell happened? Look, we knew where we were going or what we were doing anyway. We didn't know where we were going. And they did the little sliding partition like they have in pickup trucks. The officer opened it up and said, "We're heading back, boys." And we turned around and started heading back. And it wasn't until we got back to the station, we backed in, and we had the old ticker tape. You'd have to look up the fire department ticker tape if you don't know what that is. We had this huge board on the wall that had like all the box numbers. So if somebody threw a firebox back in the day, it would just set off the ticker tape, and it would punch holes in tape as it was going by. So in case you didn't know where it was or you didn't have a pager, you could look at the tape, count the dots. It was like Morse code. Like it might have like 3 little dots, then a space, and then 2 dots, and then a big space, and then 3 dots, 2 dots. Well, you know that was 32. You'd look up on the board, see what 32 is. You would know where to go. When we got back and checked the ticker tape, it was just dot, 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 dot. The whole, like, for like, the whole top part of the ticker tape was just all dots. And then that's when they actually told us that we were responding to New York City, and the only reason that we got called back is because they shut down every entrance to the city, and our only entrance was through the Lincoln Tunnel. So once they shut that down, because the buildings had collapsed at that point, we didn't know that, or if we did know that, we didn't hear it because you couldn't hear. First off, our monitor radios, once it got out of our operating zone, didn't work no more. So we were only relying on whatever we could hear gargled through this broken down ass speaker, and none of it made sense to anybody. And when you're doing 70 miles an hour in open air, you can't hear nothing anyway. And so after that, we were sitting in the truck bay for an hour or two. Everybody was just sitting there reflecting on, like, what the hell? We didn't have TV out there, so we knew that something bad had happened. And then we went into our company had a bar, a social club attached to it. That was pretty much how we raised money for the truck floor, so we could buy new shit, because the city would give you a grant every year, but it didn't go very far. And we went in, we were sitting in there, and I was just barely not old enough to drink. So I got like a pitcher of Pepsi soda, and we were watching it on the TV. And this is the hard part, because I knew watching that at that moment that there was a lot of people dead, right? And selfishly, I thought there's a lot of firefighters dead that went there to do what they were trained and paid to do. And then you started, like, the next couple of days, you started hearing about the numbers of how many people died, and then, like, obviously throughout the course of that day is when Shanksville and the Pentagon, and, you know, it was like, what the hell? Nobody knew what was going on. Nobody in there was around for anything like this. To me, it was like almost like an Armageddon situation. Like, wow, why in the fuck are planes falling out of the sky? What's going on? And because considering it was 2001, you know, it was still the whole Y2K thing was still, people were still chattering on about that. Did something go wrong with the planes that caused the like the autopilots and stuff to malfunction, or like, so there was all that speculation for a little bit, and then you started hearing about a terrorist attack. Well, last time a terrorist attack happened was, I mean, domestically Oklahoma City, but then you had to go all the way back to Pearl Harbor before you could really pinpoint when somebody made it through. And that was I avoided that location, all locations, up until 2014. And the day before my wedding, I had a buddy of mine fly in from Australia to be the best man at my wedding. And he was shitting green when 9/11 happened, right? Like he was in diapers. To him, that's just videos he could watch. But he had said to me, you know, as a tourist, is there a way that we can make it to New York? And I'm like, oh boy, you know, I don't really want to go, but I'll go. And we went. Me, him, and my wife went to New York, drove through the Lincoln Tunnel. Not a great experience. Like, I had PTSD like you wouldn't believe through that whole process. We get to trying to find a spot to park, completely impossible. You just have to pay $40 an hour for a car garage and hope you're back in time. But they're like, you know, he's like, oh, I want to go over to the Twin Towers. I'm like, I don't really want to go there, but okay. I said, I'll make you a deal. I said, can we go down through Battery Park and then get on a ferry, go over to the Statue of Liberty before we do that? And he didn't understand, but to me, the Statue of Liberty was, that was more important, because that, no matter what happened, that Statue of Liberty still meant something. So we went and did the whole Statue of Liberty tour and shit, and then coming back across, you could see they were still building One World Trade Center. And I could see it while coming across on the ferry over the Hudson, and I'm like, oh no. And we got there, walked, and ironically, we walked through the back and out the front of Trump Towers. Didn't even know it, just because we were trying to find shortcuts, right? So we just went through, boop, boop, boop. And then we get to it, and the first thing you come up to is all the trees and then the reflection pools. And I wanted to spend all day going by saying every name that was on those pools, on the sides of it. But that would have just taken literally all day. And then he wanted to go into the 9/11 museum, and I was like, nah, I really don't want to go there. But I ended up going, because what kind of guest would I be if I didn't go? And I went down, and if you've never been there, go. That is, I could count on my hands and toes how many times that I've cried in front of other people. And I had no problem, because I wasn't the only one with tears walking through that building. That is, and then here this past year, last year, I went to Shanksville to see that. I haven't made it to the Pentagon yet, because there really is nothing to see there except for a new face to a wall and a plaque or something that they put up. So there's really nothing to see there.
And it's really, really hard to get to it too.
But like, you know, the moral of the story is, if you know somebody that is active duty in any way, whether it be a police officer, a firefighter, a paramedic, any military, thank them, hug them, tell them you love them, because you might not see them again.
Amen to that. That is 100% true.
Now, I just want to preface this on an asshole side. If you're one of those douchebags with stolen valor, may God have mercy on your soul.
And don't come on this podcast, because you will never live life the same.
Did you, with the fire department, did you guys have, we called them a death tag. I don't know what they're actually called. But ours, I still have mine actually. I think it's over on my shelf over there. It was a laminated card. Looked like it was basically an ID card, but it was a laminated card that had your picture, your firefighter number, because you're assigned a number through the department, and then ours had little blocks on top, like, you know, on in the military how they have like the different color like rectangle-y badges that you see people wear, the bars of things.
Yep.
They were kind of like that, but really small, and they were just colored, and they were color coded to be like whatever your certification was. Like white was your ALS, blue was BLS, red was interior, exterior. There was just a litany of them. Whatever you had, they would put on it. And if you got new ones, then you would have to wait so many months or whatever until. But they clipped on your helmet. So whenever you would get off your truck, you would hand your ID to somebody, and they would put it. We had ours look like, you know, the old movies of the sheriff's departments, where the key rings were like these gigantic, huge rings of keys. It was like that, where they would slip the tags down on them if you were going to be away from the truck. And then at the end, you'd have to come back and everybody would get their tag. And if there were still tags left over, then they would go through like this whole process of looking for the person, identifying the person. More times than not, a matter of fact, I can't even remember a time when somebody wasn't there to collect it. They just forgot to go get it or whatever. Went pissed off and did something else, was talking to people when their truck was put back in service.
So, when I was in the fire service, I don't ever remember having anything like that. When I went through the fire academy, I was actually sponsored by a fire department, and before I got my firefighter 1 and firefighter 2, which enabled me to, you know, be allowed to go into structure fires and stuff like that. I was on a truck with a lieutenant, and I had been told that because I didn't have my firefighter 1 or 2, I was not allowed to go into any structure that might be or could be on fire. We responded to report of a possible structure fire. Got there, everybody got out of the truck. I stayed back with the lieutenant at the truck, and I was standing there beside him, and he looked at me and said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, I was told I'm not allowed to go in until, you know, been told it's, you know, it's clear there's nothing on fire." And the lieutenant looked at me and he said, "How are you supposed to learn anything if I make you stand here at this truck and just let you watch?" He said, "You're not going to learn anything." He said, "Get your stuff and follow those guys." He said, "You're not going to learn anything standing back here with me." He said, "The only way you're going to learn is to go in and watch and ask questions." He said, "So get your stuff, go in the house." Luckily, the house wasn't on fire. Nothing was burning. It was a false alarm. But, yeah, I don't ever remember having anything like that. It was basically the lieutenant or captain or whoever was in charge of that truck was in charge of knowing where his people were at and what they were doing. And if you didn't come back, then it was his responsibility to make it known that you were missing.
Yeah, our fire department up here, they do what they call par checks. And they do that literally like the first one is 20 minutes into the incident. The second one is 45 minutes into the incident. Then at that point, it is every 25 minutes into the incident. They will continuously do a par check. And the incident commander normally is the one who calls for that.
But that is,
go ahead.
But that is a good question, Hammy, and I'm going to ask about that as far as some of the fire departments around here. I have very close.
I'm actually looking. I know I have a picture of mine. I'm gonna. I just gotta find it.
I have,
and then I'll.
I have very close connections with a fire chief, so I'm gonna ask him about that as far as his department's concerned, whether they have those tags or not.
Yeah, all it is, like Steve was saying with the par, like there's times where when we would respond, we would say, you know, county, truck number, responding par 5, par 4. Like we would let dispatch know how many people was on the trucks. You would have some of the trucks, some of the people would even use souls on board. Right, like that was a thing back then too. I guess it was probably an airplane thing the whole time, but there were some truck drivers that would say, you know, responding with 4 souls on board. I don't know if they ever kept track of it, if they ever really cared, but
Well, I know with some of the paid departments around here, like we've talked about before, you know, you've got ladder companies, you've got engine companies, and each company has a certain number of people on that truck. So, say your engine company responds to something, they know there's, say, 4 people on that truck. They know what 4 people were assigned to that engine company and what 4 people are going in. So, I mean, I guess that could kind of alleviate the need for what you're talking about. But the volunteer departments, I'm not sure about, because I know with those, it's, you know, you don't have people assigned to trucks. It's kind of first get there, first come, first serve type deal.
yeah, I know some people that, like, I know people in paid departments that they're on a truck. That's their truck. They have a seat on that truck, and that's just it. Oh wow, I found it. Holy hell.
Yeah.
The picture is very foggy, but
Up here, they'll say like 3+2, like engine 1 responding 3+2. I mean, to me, that means there's 5 people on the truck. I know that, but what does the 3 then the +2 mean? I don't know. And then like if it's only the driver, they'll normally say like driver only. So that way that dispatch and when they get there, the dispatch can tell the incident commander the total count of people, how many's actually there. I mean, that's just by listening to this little thing right here.
I know my dad.
I sent you a picture of it.
I know my daddy, his department, they're one of those that have, you know, they have the engine company, they have ladder company, all that, but he can, if they go to a structure fire, he can, when he gets on scene, he basically knows by, you know, whether it's A shift, B shift, C shift, whatever, he knows who's on that truck when he pulls up. If he gets there and it's A shift and the engine's there, he knows who's on that engine. He knows who's supposed to be working that day. So I guess that kind of, with him being the chief and knowing, you know, whether or not, you know, he got 4 people on the engine, one calls out and he's got, you know, a part-time guy on the engine, when he shows up, he automatically knows, all right, these are the people that are supposed to be on my engine. Are they all accounted for?
So that picture that I sent you is early on. Like, that was probably 2 years in.
Okay.
2 years in. It's
Before
an old ass picture.
Before I open this, am I allowed to show it on the interweb?
No.
Okay, well, I won't open it then.
No, that's got my name and shit on it, so
Okay.
I prefer not.
Yep, we'll keep it closed until after the podcast is over. Well, Hammy, sir, it has been a luxury, man, getting to hear your side of it, getting to hear some stories. I've definitely learned a couple new things, which I have a saying, you learn something new every day, so it's been a luxury. Steve, I want to thank you, sir, for stepping in and co-hosting for me. It's been a pleasure.
No problem. Glad to be here.
I guess before we leave, I'm going to open it up to the comments. If any of y'all guys have any questions for Hammy, We'll leave it open for a couple minutes before we end. And if anybody has any questions for Hammy regarding what we've talked about, feel free to ask. Steve, do you have anything else you'd like to?
I got one last thing. We talked earlier about this is the fallen firefighters Memorial Weekend. Also, starting Sunday, May the 11th to Saturday, May the 17th, is the National Police Week. There's going to be a lot of LEO coming back into the Washington, D.C. Memorial. They will be adding some more names to the actual wall. I forgot. I think I listed it somewhere. Give me 1 minute. I think I put it in here. Let's see. No, I don't remember where I put it, but there's they're going to have the ceremony where they add the names of all the LEOs that have fallen in 2024 to the actual wall. And to me, this is the one that really hits home for me. And the reason why is because I know at least 5 names on that wall personally. And so it's a rough week for me for the memorial for them.
And as always, we want to keep our service men and women, military, police, fire, EMS. We keep them all in your prayers, guys. They need it. They do things that a lot of other people wouldn't do. Military goes overseas, fights for our right to do exactly what we're doing right now. Our firefighters, they run into a building when everybody else is running out. Our LEO, they're the people that keep us safe here at home.
Yep.
Our dispatchers, if it wasn't for them, who's going to answer the phone when you call 911 and need help? I mean, our corrections, I think that's one that I leave out. I'm guilty of it. I leave them out a lot. Our corrections people, the people who work at our prisons and jails, they have a tough job too, and they deserve recognition as well. And that's what we as host of Salute to Service try to do, is we try to bring that recognition to these people who may not get it all the time and who deserve it 100%. And that's whether you're doing it now or have done it. You deserve it either way. I'm prior service. I've done firefighting for a while. Y'all just heard Hammy. He's prior fire service. Steve's prior LEO. I mean, y'all give those shout outs. You see somebody like that, stop, shake their hand, tell them thank you, because they doggone well deserve it, 100%. So,
yep, that is true. As I always tell people, it's like, the guys in the uniform in the military, they fight for your right so you can do whatever you want. The guys in the blue and the red, they fight to protect what you get to do for the people that's in the military. I mean, it all works hand in hand. So, you got to take care of your first responder, and you got to take care of your military. And I also want to say the ones that don't get a lot of recognition also is our nurses and doctors. I mean, they're not really quite first responder, But there are some nurses that will go to major events that, because they know they're needed, and they do it out without being paid a lot of times. They just show up and do what they need to do.
You got nurses on the front lines. You got your flight nurses, and I consider ER nurses front line. They're right there.
Yep.
Uh-oh. Pardon the technical difficulties, guys. My Discord just done something weird. Okay, we're back. There we go. My Discord
You're
done
fine
something.
on our side.
Yeah, my Discord done something weird. But
I also want to throw out there to make sure to stay tuned right after this for Two Drunks and an outdoor event. I don't want to say a bottle because I know they're going to be outdoors.
Yep, they did make that well aware at the beginning of this podcast that it would be outdoors. So hopefully we don't see a burning BB when he falls into the fire, or hopefully he doesn't fall into the fire.
Yeah, just make sure his good eyes, looking, away from the fire when he's walking.
Yeah. That good eye's got to be right there on that flame the whole time. But we appreciate all of y'all that have been watching. We hope y'all have enjoyed this episode of Salute to Service. No longer Tater and a beer. Salute to Service.
Yep.
I want to give a special shout out to our guest, Mr. Hammy Games. Thank you for being here, sir. Thank you for what you've done. Thank you for what you continue to do, and thank you for what
I think we just lost Tater's audio.
Oh, there. Am I back?
There it goes. Yeah,
Okay.
you're back.
Thank you for what you've done. Thank you for what you will do. And it has been a absolute pleasure and honor to have you here today. I have been looking forward to this episode for a couple weeks now. So, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Steve, again, thank you for jumping in last minute and helping me host this episode. It's been a pleasure
Not a problem,
and an
sir.
honor. And we will catch y'all on the next one. The next one, I hope to have another very special guest. I'm still trying to convince that special guest to do it. But I'm hoping to have another very special guest for y'all. So stick around, stay tuned, and we will catch y'all on the next Salute to Service. Have a good night, guys.